Hey there everyone, it's Aaron Hughes of FuDog Group, and I've been doing a series of videos on productivity, time management, efficiency, goal setting, getting more work done in life and business and so on. And in this video, I'm going to go into detail on how I use my own personal productivity system, the platform I use, and how I have it set up for maximum efficiency so I can get a lot done every single day. Just to set some context here, first, I will back up a couple days. A couple days ago in a video, I talked about different types of software that you might use for your productivity platform. And I said there are four kinds. There's like a calendar type of productivity system. There's like note-taking productivity system. There is a project management productivity system and a task management productivity system. And typically I see those four as kind of informal categories of productivity systems. I also mentioned how I was a big Evernote user, which is a note-taking type of productivity system. I was a big Evernote user for many years until they changed up their platform a bit. Then I switched to ClickUp, which is a project management type of productivity system. And I used that for a little while until I noticed that, at least in my opinion, the level of service and the reliability of the software really started to degrade as they, I felt, got a little crazy with investor money. So then I switched to another platform called Airtable, which is really kind of like an online database, but I liked the reliability and I liked how flexible it was for different types of ways that I plan to use it. And so I have used Airtable as a project management system, even though it technically isn't really built for that, not exclusively at least, but lots of people use it as a productivity system. And I have personally built mine as a kind of a project management productivity system. So I'm going to share how I've set up Airtable for my productivity, but I'm still going to share it in a way that you can take some of the principles, some of the strategies that I'm using and apply it to whatever productivity system you're using. So it's going to get in the weeds a little bit, but I think there's enough here that you could probably take the principles and apply them however you want. I'll also make the quick disclaimer that I'm not going to show my Airtable productivity system. I got lots of personal stuff. I've got like FuDog proprietary stuff in there, and there's no need for me to share that. I'm going to describe how I use it, and that should be sufficient enough for kind of taking away the strategies and principles. I'm going to keep it pretty high level, and maybe in a future video I can dig into some of the details a little bit more. So the way I use Airtable, well, how about I back up one step and say a simple way to understand what Airtable kind of looks like is if you think of like a folder, and inside that folder are a bunch of spreadsheets. Now, any Airtable user is going to say that I'm not doing it justice by describing it that way, but that's kind of like maybe how you would see it when you first sign in, and how you might kind of understand the way it might be used. However, it does operate very differently than that. But if you think of a folder on your computer with a bunch of different spreadsheets, like Excel spreadsheets, that's kind of what you might think of a very simplified version of what Airtable could be described as. And then I have if you think of each of those like a folder of multiple spreadsheets, and then one spreadsheet would be like bookmarks that I have, or another spreadsheet might be references that I would refer to periodically for personal life, for work, health or diet or workouts. I have different like tabs in a references spreadsheet for those types of things. So ignore what I'm saying there. That's kind of just me briefly describing what you might expect if you were to sign into Airtable. The way I use Airtable as a productivity system is think of opening up a spreadsheet, and if you're used to using like Excel or Google Sheets, there's a bunch of tabs on the bottom. And each of those tabs is like a separate sheet. And so I open up, it's called a base. I open up a base in Airtable, and it is like what I call my flight deck. It is where I do my work every single day in my flight deck. I open it up, and think of a kind of a spreadsheet with a bunch of tabs on the bottom. And the first tab is I call entities and identities. And that is where I list out all of my entities and my identities. So entities, that one is like my legal entities that I own for business. So I co-own FuDog Group. I also own a company here in Canada that's kind of like a holding corporation. I own another company in the US for like an investment or holding corporation. And I have kind of some business entities like that. But then I also have a list of identities in there as well. And that is just like informal descriptions of who I am. And that may seem weird, but just follow me here and I'll explain why I have that. But some identities would be like, I'm a chairman of FuDog Group, a chairman and co-owner. I am the co-owner, or excuse me, I'm the owner of my holding company in Canada. So like owner is an identity. Another identity I would have is like husband to Janelle. Another identity that I would have is like family member to like my parents and my sister. Another identity I might have is like friend, right? So this list of identities, and we all have identities. We all have multiple identities that kind of make up who we are. That's how we interact in the world. And not a lot of people talk about identities like this, but I think they're really important and they're instructive to helping us understand who we are. And our identities are also a way that in a minute you'll see can help us be more efficient and get the right things done in life. So I've got this list of entities and identities. That's the first tab in my my spreadsheet, if you want to call it that, in my Airtable base. And so I've got this list. Then the second tab in that spreadsheet, in that base in Airtable, is vision. And my vision is basically, I take every entity and identity in the first tab, and I move it over to the second tab, and then I build out basically kind of a paragraph or a bunch of bullet points of what I see accomplishing, what I want to accomplish in like the next maybe 3 to 5 years in each of those entities and identities. So I just take one identity, I move it over, I build out a paragraph and some bullet points and that type of thing. And I do that for every single entity and identity, and that's in vision. Then the third tab in my Airtable flight deck base that I use for like executing every single day, the third tab is my goals. And here my goals are all derived from the previous tab, the vision that I have for each entity and identity. And so my goals, if you think of taking every vision and then breaking it down into a series of goals. So I've got the identity of Aaron, the owner. Then that appears in the vision section with a bunch of bullet points about what I want to achieve as Aaron, the owner, in 3 to 5 years. And maybe that's things like I want to elevate my own leadership. Another vision piece I might have is I want to maybe be able to lead, a dozen companies from anywhere in the world, for example. So there's 2 bullet points, but imagine a few bullet points like that for every entity and identity that I have. Then I take those bullet points and I turn them into goals. So using the example I've just used, as an owner, my vision is to own a dozen companies and be able to travel anywhere while I'm leading them. So then my goals might be to acquire more companies, or a goal might be to travel while I am leading, or a goal might be to elevate my leadership skills. So there's a few examples of goals. So you got entities and identities become your vision. Then from your vision, they get turned into goals. And then we get to the fourth tab, and this is really the last tab and where the magic happens. And you take each of those goals, and in the fourth tab, which I call execution, I list out all the tasks required to create those goals, to achieve those goals. Every task that I can imagine that needs to be done in order to achieve those goals, and that gets listed in this execution tab. And along with that, I dump in all other tasks that come to me in my day. And as you might know, in your life as well, you get lots of tasks from everywhere. You open your inbox, you answer your phone, you look at your text, Wherever you happen to have communication with people, you are probably getting tasks. Could be something as simple as, like pick up milk on the way home from the grocery store, on the way home, like stop at the grocery store, or it could be something more complicated like acquire a company, like I mentioned earlier. So all these tasks, and some tasks are going to be projects, some tasks will be specific tasks. Let's skip over that and just imagine that this big list in my fourth tab called execution, I've got this big list of tasks, some simple, some complicated. If it's a complicated project, I can break out the tasks, but I got this huge list of tasks in the execution tab of Airtable. And then from there, I just schedule them in to a day and I just start doing them. And you may recall from another video I did that I've also divided up, I kind of categorize those tasks, not only by the day that they're due, but also in 5 ways, by whether they are just something to be aware of, whether it's an appointment I need to have, like a time-specific thing I need to show up to a Zoom or to a face-to-face appointment, something I need to do, something I need to delegate, or something I'm waiting on from someone else. And those, I kind of apply that 5-category structure to every single task in my execution list. All right, I think I got in the weeds here a little bit, but that's okay. Just to keep things really simple, as a kind of a recap, I start with who I am. I start with my identities, my entities and my identities. From there, I build out a vision. From there, I turn that vision into goals. From there, I turn those goals into tasks, and I make a big list of tasks. And that is all the tasks in my life, whether they came from that goals tab or whether they're just like someone asked me for help on something, or I have to delegate something to a team member, or someone, I have to stop at the grocery store and get milk on the way home. All of my tasks go in that execution tab, and they are dated, like a due date, and kind of categorized in the 5 ways I mentioned earlier: aware, appointment, due, delegate, or wait. And I just do them. So I keep my system just like that, really simple. It's focused on where I want to go and who I want to be and what I want to achieve in my entities and identities. But it goes very quickly from who I am and where I want to go in life very quickly to these are the things that you need to do to get those done. Lots of people have lots of other ways to kind of set goals, create a vision. And some people, unfortunately, just have a big pile of tasks and they're just hammering through them without any type of strategy or big, clear, inspiring vision that they can work toward. And I think that is a huge danger. I would rather start with who I am and who I want to become and where I want to go with my entities and identities, and then turn those into goals and ultimately specific action steps to execute on every single day. That's how I get more of the right things done every day. I keep it really simple, really flexible, but I can stack stuff in there and just keep getting stuff done. I hope that was helpful for you. That is how I use my productivity system. I use it in Airtable. You can, if you want to adopt some principles from there, you can apply those principles to kind of any type of productivity system that you might be using, whether it's on paper or on software. But I hope that was helpful. And just to wrap up here, I want to say that we have Seekers of Power as an in-person event that FuDog Group has coming up in September. And what's really neat about Seekers of Power is that we talk about a bunch of things, but we talk a lot about identity. And I think a lot about identity. I might actually do a series of videos on identity because I think that's, I've come to discover how important that is for us to navigate through life. We tend to be blind to our own identities, like who we are and how we show up in the world. And yet it's those very identities that are guiding us and maybe helping us be more successful or holding us back from success. And so I think a lot about those. I bake those into my productivity system. And at Seekers of Power in Connecticut on September 14th through 16th, we talk about identities and how we can show up in the world in full control of those identities and understanding who we are and where we want to go. It's a big topic at Seekers of Power. Not the only topic, but a big thing that we talk about is kind of understanding our identity and elevating it to become a better person. So if you want to learn more about that and maybe show up at Seekers of Power, where I'll be teaching along with co-owners Mike and Jennifer and others, I'd love to see you there. You can hit me up by private message and let me know that you're interested in learning more, and I'd be happy to share. We have a couple seats left, and I think it would be really neat if you showed up and we could hang out in Connecticut together. All right, everyone, have an amazing day.